Ladies and gentlemen, as blockchain grows, layer 2s are becoming essential, offering faster speed, lower cost, and a better user experience. But now, they are many parallel networks, each hoping to shape the future of Web3. So we may ask, are we truly entering a decentralized area or facing new challenges with compatibility and sustainability? Now, let's find out the answers through our following panel discussion on the topic, do we really need that many layer 2s? A lot of leaders from top layer 2 systems around the world will share to GM Vietnam 2025 their views and their plans with us. And now let's join us in warmly welcoming on the stage our panelists. Let's welcome Mr. Kenny Lee, co-founder of Meta Network. Let's welcome on stage Mr. Tom Ngô, CEO of Metis. Miss Chloe Phùng, CEO of U2U Network. And let's welcome our moderator. Và xin được mời điều phối viên của phiên thảo luận, Miss La Vi Trần, core contributor of Ancient A. Hãy cùng chào đón lên sân khấu các diễn giả để cùng bắt đầu phiên thảo luận ngày hôm nay. And now let's begin our section.
Hi everyone, it's Lavi here. I'm a core contributor at Ancient, and for those who don't know, Ancient is the Ethereum layer 2 designed for on-chain gaming and consumer apps. First of all, I would like to thank you, GM Vietnam team, for having me today. So I'm very excited to have the great panel discussion with our incredible builders here. So before we jump into our panel discussion, I would love to have our panelists have a short introduction about yourself to our audience.
Sure, I'll go first. Hi, everyone. My name is Kenny, and I am the co-founder of Manta Network. We are the largest modular L2 in existence today. A little bit about myself. Prior to starting Manta 5 years ago, I've been in the technology space as an entrepreneur for quite a while now. Worked in and built companies in cloud computing, in AI, healthcare, fintech, and most recently, prior to starting Manta, I was pursuing my MBA over at MIT, where I was the teaching assistant as well for Gary Gensler. Some of you guys might remember the name. He was the chairman of the United States SEC under the Biden administration. Been working on Manta for the past 5 years now. We're a team of approximately 50 people all around the world, focused on user adoption and scalability. Thanks. Glad to be here.
My name is Tom Ngô, CEO of Metis. I am based in the US, but Vietnamese descent, so I can speak a little bit of Vietnamese, so it's great to be here. A little bit about Metis. Metis was one of the first scaling solution for Ethereum, and we have evolved into a house, or I would say organization, to really scale blockchain itself. I think blockchain has evolved into something very unique, and we're continuing to build. We're one of the first L2. Now we're focusing on AI to bring a solution to this industry. We also have verticals that touch on BTC as well and ZKM. So excited to really contribute to the region, see the growth. And quick shout out to Zane, GM Vietnam, and condolences to the team from FTP as well. But I think with some of this upcoming news and the growth in the region, super excited to contribute to the space.
Hello everyone. My name is Chloe Phùng. I'm a co-founder and CEO of U2U Network. So besides like Kenny and Tom Ngô today, I'm the only one who building the L1 instead of L2. And I hope that I can bring some perspective of L1s in the topic of our discussion today, which is L2, because there will be surely some connected between, right? And for about U2U, so we building an infrastructure focusing on the pin and real-world application for the last 3 years. Our team here is mainly based in Vietnam. We are proud to be one of the first L1 that developed by the Vietnamese team. And we are also backed by SSID, the host of our GM Vietnam for this year. So I'm really happy to be here today and hopefully can contribute to my knowledge to the topic.
All right, thank you guys for the introductions. And like you have mentioned, we have discussed about, we have a very fascinating topic that we have 3 layer 2 solution here and then 1 L1 solution to talk about, do we really need that many layer 2? So I think let's find out what we can bring to the table based on our experience. So for the first questions, we have seen so many layer 2 happening right now since the Dan Kroon upgrade in 2024, right? And we have seen a lot of challenges about liquidity, user fragmentations, and there is a concern from Ethereum fans. They said that layer 2 are becoming the parasitic of the Ethereum. So from you guys' experience, how do you see the Ethereum ecosystem is working on to fix the challenge, to maintain the relationship between layer 1 and layer 2? You want to go first, Tom?
Sure.
Okay.
So I think the panel title could have been different, in my opinion. And Lavi said this would be a hot topic, so really keen to talk to some of our panelists here. In terms of like, do we have too many layer 2s? I think you could ask the question is, do we have too many blockchain infrastructures? Do we have too many roadways? And are we parasitic to Ethereum? You could ask that same question to all the L1s and all the builders in the
agree.
industry. So I think it's not a question about are we parasitic or there are too many layer 2s. Are we bringing the right solution to mass adoption? I think is the question. Do we have enough users? So if the community and people are asking these questions, there might be a sentiment of where the industry is, of maybe there's not enough users, the struggle for liquidity, the struggle for use case, mindshare. I think it's not about us being too many, but us not having the right solution for today's demand and applying it to what we really need. And I think that's the kind of shift. So in my opinion, I think it's not about too many layer 2s. I think it's about having real use cases. You see a lot of minor differences in all the different L2s, the unique cases. But at the end of the day, is it impactful? Is it tangible? Or it makes sense for some of these enterprises or users to really learn or have the learning curve of really utilizing blockchain? So I think it's more of about a market sentiment and market actually use case for the whole industry, not just are we building too many roadways on the blockchain infrastructure.
I totally agree with your point of view that it depends on the use case and how we can bring a product to the market that can reach to the mass adoptions. But I think the question here is more about Ethereum Foundation. I think we should ask the Ethereum Foundation about this one. Regarding to, since we have a lot of L2s, right? And the liquidity is fragmented and the revenue to Ethereum Foundation is not enough to cover the cost to run layer 1. So I think that's the reason why it's like a pain point for Ethereum builders, like how to generate more revenue to operate the L2. But yeah.
Can I add one more thing?
Yes, sure, of course.
So if it's a revenue case, I think it's a not just an Ethereum problem, I think it's a blockchain problem. I think the commercialization of how you monetize blockchain is not well thought out or well decided or well implemented. Now that miners and builders or the network say, hey, we're not generating enough revenue. I think blockchain is very like mobile. Before they charged for text message per minute, now it's like unlimited, right? Now it's global as well. I think blockchain is moving in that space. You're not trying to maximize transaction costs to build up your revenue source. You should find other avenues. But I see the traditional finance really tackling that and different initiative from a different foundation. So I'll end with that.
It's
go
okay.
ahead, guys.
I'm very happy to see the spontaneous point of view popping up. So how about you, Ken? What you think the concern that calling us a parasitic to Ethereum?
Yeah, so I'll give you guys, how many of you guys know about the app Duolingo? You know, it's like an app where you learn a second language or a third language, or if you're very talented.
Do you guys know Duolingo? Please raise your hand.
Okay, so Duolingo, like some of you guys know it, some of you guys don't. It's not like the top app on the App Store, but every single day they have about 20 million active users, right? We've never seen something like this in blockchain. Even Pump Fun, how many of you guys know about Pump Fun?
You guys
wow.
know Pump Fun on Solana?
There's about as many of you guys that know about Pump Fun as Duolingo. Okay, so Pump Fun, right? One of the most popular, one of the most controversial applications in the Web3 space. I think that they topped out at around 200,000 daily active users, which is a fraction of what we see in the iPhone App Store, right? Duolingo completely obliterates all the daily active users we have in the entire Web3 space. And even with the amount of users that we have today, scalability is still a major issue. We see networks going down all the time because of congestion. And so, if you're asking, are there too many L2s, right? I think that pure question itself, the answer is no, there's not. Because how can you possibly think that we're at a scale of mass adoption right now when our best application only has 1/100th of what a normal Web 2 application has? So I don't think so, but I think the deeper question is about fragmentation, right? That's the really big issue here because, L2s, in order to really scale out Ethereum and get that many users, L2s have to work together. But it doesn't happen today. Right now, every single L2 has its own ecosystem, its own liquidity, its own parallel universe of things. And so, the deeper problem that needs to be solved is how do you unify all of this liquidity? How do you unify all these applications to turn L2s into a true scalability layer rather than each one trying to solve the entire problem themselves? So I think that's where the problem is. In terms of the parasitic nature of L2s, no, I think that's ridiculous. I think that, take away all the L2s and see how Ethereum survives on its own. It's impossible. It can't even handle CryptoKitties. I think the speaker before was talking about CryptoKitties. People were minting some NFTs and the network went down. It needs help from the layer 2s in order to be sustainable. And so, parasitism isn't the question. It's, how do you make Ethereum future-proof? And I think L2s are the solution there.
Lovely. That's a very comprehensive answer. Thank you, Kenny.
Thanks.
How about you, Chloe? From the perspective of layer 1, maybe it's a little bit different. Is it difficult to operate layer 1 to, customize the chain to match with the application?
So even though I'm running a layer 1, but I do need to agree with Kenny and also Tom Ngo about the economic perspective and also about if we take away all the L2 from Ethereum, how Ethereum gonna scale and perform, right? We do see for the last few years, L2 really contribute a lot into the Ethereum ecosystem. We see a lot of activity happening in L2 and also that help the entire industry growth. And for us as UCU, we are running L1 infrastructure. However, in order to help us to scale, we do have a similar concept like L2, but we follow subnet concept instead. So we have different kind of subnet run parallelly. So similar like Ethereum have different L2, right? And each of subnet have their own focus. For example, one of the subnet we focus on peer-to-peer for the PIN application. The other one is to building a decentralized connection for IoT device. So I think for the question, are there many L2s? I don't think that we can answer on the number of the number of the L2 right now in the market, but more like what Kenny say, how we can make those L2s work together, bring integrity into the ecosystem, and also solve the fragmentations. And that is also the root purpose of having a scalability layer on top of Ethereum. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So we need to have alignment on value capture, bring back to layer 1 so we can trying to make layer 2 to become like a unified network so everyone can share the same liquidity to reduce the user fragmentation is happening right now among the L2s. All right, so for the second question is a little bit deeper about technical that we're gonna talk about roll-ups. So I know that like Manta and Ancient are also using OB Stack. How about you, Manta? Tom, you also using OB Stack?
We started with the OP stack, but we have evolved into our own tech stack with our own vision of what we see is suited for our vision as an organization. So we have a Metis SDK that we are have evolved into.
Wow, that's fascinating. So we have seen that Ethereum is really trying to scale, right, for the mass adoption. So since, like I have shared, that since the Denkun upgrade, the transaction fees is very low. It's not even $0.1 for the users, but we have seen so many roll-ups happening. I think like more than a year, we have seen like more than 100 roll-ups in the space. So what are you guys' point of view? Like what justify the increasing numbers of roll-ups? Is it like a factor to make layer 2 even more fragmented?
I guess I can go again.
Because you have your own roll-ups, right? So you probably have more experience.
I think when you asked the question, you know, all these teams doing roll-ups, I think some of the teams have an aspiration to build something, but they don't understand the economic side of sustaining an ecosystem. Now we're seeing a lot of networks that have quiet ecosystem with not very unique dApps. And innovation dApps, maybe on the Web 2 side, take millions of dollars or many applications or to really launch and really stand out. I think there's a lot of failure in this space due to many factors from the economic side of tokenomics tied with the application. It's not just a tech stack. Now you have two verticals that you have to really worry about. Users, technology, and also the tokenomic side, which is a representation of what your project can do. And one can survive without the other, but two would really make why you build on Web3. So in terms of, do we have too many layer 2s and roll-ups? I think that the challenge is we just have too many applications that don't really bring the value to the retail today.
I see. So we probably should focus more on the end game users, like how they can interact with the project, like seamlessly, right? But not to have so many roll-ups and even it's confusing for builders. For example, like a lot of builders here, they want to build a project on an L2, or they even want to build an L2, for example, and they don't know which roll-up they should choose because right now it's still very early stage, right? And probably brings a lot of like concern for builders as well.
I'll just add one line to that.
Sure, please.
I think we're seeing a lot of roll-ups because the barrier of entry of the technology and the adoption is lower now. So a lot of people can say, hey, I'll do a roll-up. It'll just cost me a couple $1,000 a month to maintain it, and now I'm a roll-up. But everything else is needed too to really fuel that ecosystem. But I'd love to hear what Kenny and
Yeah, I think like talking about technology, especially about roll-up, right? I also don't think there will be like, there are too many roll-up because for sure each of the builder team, they will have like a different approach on the problem and solution, right? And each of the roll-up will have the key unique selling point or like competitive advantage of their own technology. And if we say like, maybe we just need one roll-up, two roll-up, three roll-up, then we somehow is stopping the innovation within the space, right? And who knows, maybe like the more roll-up we have, like the better solution we have for the whole industry and for the L1, for the L2 and Ethereum ecosystem.
How about you, Ken?
I think that when it comes to technology, this sounds weird, but it matters and it doesn't matter. And it depends on what your goal is. So starting with why it matters, right? Like, you know, the question is, are there too many L2s? What is the goal of having all these L2s? I think the best outcome of all this is to find the L2 design that has the best balance of technology and scalability and then just start cloning that horizontally. And that's how I think we get that level of scalability that we need to compete with Web 2 applications. So I'd say maybe 3 years from now, maybe 5 years from now, we're only going to have one type of generic L2 that everyone uses, and maybe we'll innovate on top of that. But that singular sort of point is what's going to be used to achieve this horizontal scalability that we need, that communication, that disciplines of fragmentation, right? And so one example here is, right now, we're OP Stack. You guys have your proprietary ZK VM, right? Like, we're already fragmented, right? And that's sort of a future that we're trying to move away from, right? So maybe the future is all Metis ZK VM, right? Maybe the future is all OP Stack. But I think we'll get there, and once we get there, we're going to have a much more resilient, much more scalable L2 than we have today. And that's where the technology really matters. Where the technology doesn't matter is end users, applications. That's why you see the same applications not being able to decide which L2 to deploy on. That's why you see the same applications deploying on 50 different L2s, right? If the technology really mattered that much to the application, then they would say, oh, we have to deploy on Manta. We have to deploy on Metis, right? But that's not the case. They deploy everywhere because they want to maximize their revenue. They want to maximize the amount of users they get, the exposure, and that's the priority for them. And I think what that tells us as layer 2s is that our differentiation doesn't really matter. And so the technology itself is important to build the resilience and the scalability, but our future as individual L2s, I think, is going to be put into question because, to the end user, even to the applications, we're all the same thing.
Wow, that's a very cool answer. I like it because a lot of games and the apps come to L2 and say, hey, how much grain we have? And then they come to L1 and they're also gonna ask the question, how much grain we have, right? And why does it matter to be on L1 or to be on L2? And I think in terms of technical expert, that the users, they still favor the security of Ethereum. And also for us as well, when we build layer 2, we don't have to worry about the security, the different layer of the blockchain, the settlement, the consensus, the data availability or whatever. It's just so much work. We just want to care about the execution, right? And then how we gonna onboard more apps and games or whatever is it, socialify to scale the Ethereum with user-friendly product. So I think it should be a balance between technology and so also for the user demand. So it's all about the product market fit, right? So I think we have talked a lot about Ethereum Foundation, L1 and L2. I think I'm gonna change the question a bit to make it more realistic to all of us. So maybe you guys can share with us about what is your journey to while building layer 2, and what is the narrative from Manta, from Metis, and also from you to you when you guys building layer 1. Is there any challenge when you have to operate a chain and also have to focus on the growth strategy as well? Who wanna go first?
Yeah, maybe I can share about the challenge that we have as a L1. So we all know about the blockchain trilemma, right? So for us as young L1s, we need to we cannot inherit what for you guys can inherit what already have in Ethereum, like security and data availability layer. But for us, we need to build everything from the scratch and build it that fit to the narrative that we want to support, especially for DePIN and real-world application, because for DePIN itself, it already have more than 20 different sector and different kind of product operation, and also the requirement of the tech stack is very complicated. For example, if a DePIN project that operate in the way of the marketplace, contributor and the demand side meet at the marketplace, let's say like that, they have require for different tech stack. Or the other kind of data pin, let's say like weather sensor, they have another kind of requirement in terms of data availability and also data storage, and also how to verify those data that's sent back by the sensor. So all that is like really complicated and a lot of different requirements. So even though we focus on DP and real application, we don't try to become like a general L1. We also need to face with a lot of like different asks and requirements from builder, from those narratives that we are facing.
Wow, interesting. I want to dive a little bit more on the Debin side because like you have shared, it's very complicated, not just for the team, right? But also for your users as well.
Yeah,
because
and we also try to, at the same time, solve the user experience within the Debin space at the same time, not just for builder.
Yeah, so because like it's a physical product, I assume, yes. So when you like do the growth strategy for the Debin product and also have to operate L1 separately, how can you convince your users to understand like a complex, knowledge of Debin and how to send back the data to the system and how you can gain the user trust?
Yeah, so talking about Debin, like you said, Levi, many of the Debin projects involved with hardware or device, right? So imagine if I'm a Debin user, I want to contribute different kind of resources like bandwidth, storage, GPU, CPU. I cannot download too many different apps, right? For example, like if I want to contribute bandwidth, I need to download different apps to contribute the bandwidth. I want to contribute storage, different app, computational, different app. So that is also the user experience problem that Debin are facing. So as UCU, we develop as well one of the specific subnet to solve the user experience for Debin. So instead of user need to download many kind of different apps, now those applications can embed their client into our Debin client hub. And the user, they just need to do one thing. They download our Debin client hub and start contribute all kind of resources they have from their phone, from their computer in one place. And also manage like their earning and also their capacity of contribution just in one place. So I think like if we focus on solving the user experience problem at the same time with builder problem, then we can have the Debin state come to the state of sustainable and also like fast growing the upcoming years.
All right, thank you, Chloe. How about Tom and Ken? About your journey to bring the projects be on top of layer 2, like any challenge or just any story you want to bring.
I'll go.
Yeah, I was letting Kenny go next.
Okay, so for all of you guys in the audience that want to build your own project, that are starting to build your own project, my biggest piece of advice to you is adapt. Do not die on the hill you're standing on. The space changes so quickly and it changes so much that you have no idea what it's going to look like a year from now. I started personally in the crypto space with Bitcoin mining, and this was back in 2013. And then a few years later, my stepbrother comes to me and tells me about this new idea called Ethereum. And I remember being so stubborn because I thought it's impossible to build a global computer, right? Bitcoin, all it does is do transactions. And so I called Ethereum a scam. I wasn't involved in the ICO. My brother did the ICO. And now, right, Ethereum rivals Bitcoin in terms of presence, in terms of mind share, and it has its own unique value proposition. That was my mistake because I was stuck in the Bitcoin era. My second mistake was after a few years later, one of my friends goes to build the first decentralized exchange in the world. It's called Ether Delta. This was back in like 2017. And I tried it out. It was terrible. Good idea, but it had no liquidity. It was an order book and all this other stuff, all these problems. And so I saw it fail. And so then a few years later, once Uniswap came out, I thought, no way, this is not going to work. I've seen it before. And turns out it's a massive success. Why did I not capitalize on that opportunity? Because I was so stuck in my old way of thinking that a DEX won't work because I had a previous experience of it, right? And so this is all to say that, when I was in the Bitcoin era, who knew that today's world would be dominated by Ethereum? When I was in the Ether Delta era, who knew that the most valuable use case to ever come out of all of these decentralized applications is the decentralized exchange, well, the AMM DEX. You have no idea what this world will be like in a year, in 3 years, in 5 years. And so don't be so focused on the core technology and your core mission that you forget to lose sight of the real reason, which is you need to build for value to the end users. And that value continues to change, so you need to continue to change with it. At Manta, we started off as an L1. We built the fastest on-chain ZK-proving L1 for on-chain privacy. We built that was interesting, no users came. We could still be that. We could be dead on that hill trying to push privacy to everyone's throats, but that's not what users wanted. And so we pivoted to become an L2. We scaled out, we became the largest modular L2, and because of that pivot, we're able to survive, we're able to become successful. Now, it's the same problem. L2s, there's way too many of them. It's extremely fragmented. How do you differentiate? To be honest, I don't think you can, unless you're Base, right? Base has probably 99% of the market share of all the L2s right now. But what's the next problem that people are looking at now? We're looking at real user adoption because, let's be frank, the majority of user on-chain activity right now is being taken over by bots, right? People that are farming for airdrops and tokens and all this stuff. I'd say that's probably 98% of on-chain activity, and that's probably an underestimation. What are we going to do in this next generation to change that for this next wave of blockchain adoption? We need to bring in real users. And where do the real users come from? They come because they find valuable applications, not because they found the next top L2, right? Like these are Web 2 users. They don't care about L2s. They care about how much value can you provide to me. And so at Manta, we are also adapting to that. And we're starting to think more on the application layer as well. And so all of this is just to give you guys, some history lesson into how we think, which is adapt, scale, and build real value for users, whether that is on the infrastructure side, on the application side, just whatever you do, don't die on your hill. There's so much opportunity in this space, and things are going to change so much, and I hope you guys will all be there for it.
Wow, thank you, Ken. When you share a story when Manta was a layer 1 and then you transformed to be a layer 2 to follow the market segmentation, right? I remember the story of Ancient as well. So we started as a gaming guild. Back in 2021, we raised 10 million from the top VC in the space. Since XC was a peak, right? Like GameFi project, just like very bullish on GameFi and everything. VC also very bullish. And then until 2023, GameFi just crashed significantly and we had some cash left. But we was like, okay, should we just give up or we just stay being a guild and then just follow the games? And we decided to no, we have to do something. And then somehow it's very lucky that roll-ups came out, so it's easier to run a chain. It's not expensive anymore, so we decided to become a layer 2. focus on gaming and capture all of the users and the network we had back in the gaming guild back then. So right now we still navigating what's gonna happen with L2s, and I don't know. I'm just gonna go with the flow and see what we can contribute for the users. So how about you, Tom?
I really like what Kenny shared and everyone else, but really resonated with Kenny because I also feel the same way, and evolution. And I'm glad that Kenny went first because it helped tee up my conversation. But
You're welcome.
But from Metis, we started at an Ethereum scaling solution. Our intent as a team and vision is to create a solution to scale blockchain, and why we have blockchain, right? Decentralization, accessibility, ownership. And we saw it moved beyond Ethereum. Ethereum is still a big player, but also the BTC side, right? Bringing usability to BTC. And also, we touch on the ZKM side as well from the Metis Foundation. So for us, we had to evolve. A general purpose chain is just a chain with many dApps, and dApps are having a hard time. It's making it harder for teams to build because they have to build a retail store with a whole different economic for every chain that they launch on. So it's not unified, and that's extremely hard. Imagine running a business with different teams that you can't really scale. Each team is running on different networks, different tech stack, which have different nuances, even though they might be a template, but your RPC provider might not be the same as the one on the other chain. So I think that's the challenge. So in terms of Metis, we understand evolution. We understand what the network is looking for and the industry is looking for. And for us, we see AI currently as one of the biggest innovation tech for our century. And for Metis, we are launching an instant L2 to really bring on-chain inference to the AI sector. Will it be the all solution for AI? It probably won't be, but it will provide a unique value proposition to the AI sector, as well as for the BTC fire. Right? How do you expand the usage of BTC? How do you extract value or bring value to this community? And it's one of the largest assets right now in our industry, and that we can't deny. So in terms of where we're going, I think adapting, being nimble, bet on the team with true intent to really expand and continue to build. Same thing how Manta is really evolving, and it'll be good for you to kind of understand that. I think for the local people here, looking to understand, even the local government, you see the challenges from our side, but it's also good for you to know what to do, who to lean on, who to work with, to actually really bring value to a country. Because as a country, you can't really have too many mistakes. People will look down on you or look for someone to maybe point to and say, hey, this is the problem. So it's good to understand this industry is still evolving. The digital asset is being embraced by traditional finance as well now, but also expectation is a key thing to understand what the challenge would be, some of the failures that will happen, that we would have to learn from a country, from an individual, from a company to really evolve in this space.
All right, thank you. So it was a very fascinating discussion between us. So we're running out of time, so we're gonna dive into the last questions. I think Ken already shared about airdrops. 99%, you said 99, but I think maybe let's do 80%. 80% of user on-chain are coming for airdrops, for incentive. So what do you guys think that in terms of growth strategy, do we still gonna implement the airdrops for users, or is any alternative way to still onboard user but still have some, like sustainable way to increase the user retention for our product?
Sure, I'll go first since you guys helped me go first for all this time. I think that airdrops are kind of core to the crypto culture now. The way that it's been implemented in the past, right? Airdrops are a tool. Whether it's good or bad, right, is how you use it. It can be very good for some projects, right? Uniswap was the first one to do an airdrop, and it was extremely lucrative for the community, and it helped build Uniswap's brand to what it is today. I think that was a very well executed type of airdrop. That's great. Since that time, we've seen a lot of these copies of airdrops that are used for other ecosystems to bootstrap their growth. Some work really well. Many don't. But I think it's here to stay, just because it's kind of core to the community. But airdrops was the old way of driving on-chain activity. And I say on-chain activity specifically because it wasn't real users. It was people looking for financial incentives. I think the new way, especially now, applications are very much focused on revenue generation. Revenue generation requires actual users who find actual value in what you're building. And so I think this next generation of applications are also going to be much more user-friendly, right? No more generate a wallet, connect a wallet, write down your seed phrase, bridge your assets over, only use this exchange because we're not listed on that exchange, blah, 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 right? Like, it's just such a freaking headache. I've been in this space for like 12 years and it's still annoying. And so I look very much forward to applications in this next generation that are focused on providing value first and integrating blockchain as part of that value, rather than shoving blockchain down your throat in order to take that first step into using the application.
I'm also a airdrop fan, but similar to your experience, that I hate the on-chain quest. I don't like it at all. That's why I'm a fan of NFT. So any projects just drop NFT collection and say, hey, here's the culture. If you love us, just mint it. I'm like, yes, please. I would love to dive into just hold an NFT, right? Even expensive, I'm okay with it. But if the project requires me to do like 20 quests about bridging, swapping, understanding is like a core of a project, right? We need to grow on-chain transaction to, do the TGE and stuff and show the investor. So it's a pain point for builder as well. But for the user, I just prefer simple NFT as a holder. But yeah, I think that we should improve the airdrops or the incentive way, how to generate more values, like real values for a user, so they would just automatically spend for the product. How about you guys? Is there any potential ways for us to improve on airdrops?
Yeah, so since you mentioned about like an on-chain quest, like of 20 different questions, I think they choose a purpose of a project, asking the user to do so. The first is to, for sure, have the project gain some traction, right? Follow Twitter, follow out this, that, Telegram, and so on. Create wallet transaction, just a little bit amount from there to there, right? But the second one is I think like the builder focus more to make the user to experience the whole product ecosystem, so that the user get familiar with their product. And if the product is good in terms of UI, UX, they can have the hope of like having a chance to keep their user with them, right? So that is two main purpose, and that is also what we are doing at UTU. But however, I see that the pin is already like bring airdrop into a next level. So for the pin, you want to earn, okay, you contribute. What you have like free bandwidth, you have like storage from your computer, you have CPU, GPU from your computer, you don't use, right? Then contribute, and then you can earn back some incentive. So, and at UCU, we don't just work with like a quick or short vision DPIN project. So we refer to work with DPIN project that understand the balance between contributor and the demand side, right? A lot of the DPIN project, they should try to grow as fast as possible for the contributor, so they have some traction. They can go raise fund, or they can go listing on exchanges, and then they start liquidate their token at the first day of listing, right? So to make some quick money. But for us, we focus on the PIN project that have a real business model that close to or hybrid model to the Web 2 business model. For example, the weather data sensors, the PIN project we work with, they already been for the weather data business for like 15 years, and they see the benefit of applying their pin concept into their business. That's why they bring it to their pin, bring in their pin into their business, right? Not just like create a quick their pin project or something like that and start doing crazily massive airdrop. And yeah, we have like many good examples of high quality their pin project on our ecosystem. And the other one is like Stark. They formed like originally from Deutsche Telekom company, right? That is one of their internal project. So they now trying to bring it to like become like more Web3 project friendly, and gaining more like also like gain a user, and also like traditional business already start using their solution for bus, for drone, or any kind of enterprise device or vehicle. And their focus market is right now in the European area. So there's a lot of example like that in U2U, and they use like airdrop or incentive concept to gain users slowly, and at the same time scale their client, customer who using their service. Yeah, so that is what kind of the PIN project we are focused working right now.
So it's probably depends. You need to understand your target audience, your users' behaviors to customize sustainable airdrops. So I want to share a bit from my user's perspective that I really bullish on on-chain abstraction. So in the future, when I pay any transaction, I just need to click pay. So even I have maybe Ethereum or Ancient token or Manta or whatever is it, on any different chain, I can just click and I pay, right? So really bullish on that future of the unified network, so we don't have to force our users to like bridge, swap, and do all of kind annoying steps. How about you, Tom?
So the question was airdrop. Does it still work? I think it's not just about airdrop. Even from the deep inside, you're taking value and giving value when action is created.
In Web2, we call it like vouchers, right?
Yeah, so
marketing campaign.
Like Lavi, do 10 jumping jacks before you get this bottle of water, right? Like, hey, do all this transaction, but is this water valuable to you now? I think with airdrop, I think there's a stigma. It's where people have expectation, speculation. That's what this industry is about, speculation as a core component. Why do you want to invest in this ecosystem? Because you're speculating. In terms of the value, I think it's being commercialized. Airdrop hunters, it's a business. They have farms. They're hiring farms of people from every certain regions to farm, right? And they're paying these low wages, and it's becoming a business. So basically, it's like GPU mining, but with people in a way. So it's basically value transfer. How do you get people into the door? Do I have a solution? I don't have a solution. If not, then I'll be probably the one most sorted out guy out here, figuring out different promotions or airdrop campaigns. But I think what we need to do as an industry is, in our first question, is bring real value to the people. The only thing I use blockchain right now mainly for is maybe P2P, payment, borderless transfer, capital. I think that's still number one. Everything else is gamification. So in terms of what we can do to improve, usability, real use cases.
I totally agree. The core foundation is still product market fit, and then we do some airdrops incentive for the right users. We shouldn't focus on the extractor anymore because they're gonna go and trying to farm in other places, right? So yeah, I think we had a really great panel today. Thank you guys for your sharing, and thank you our audience for spending your time staying here listening to our panel discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you to our
Thank you.
dedicated panelists. And now I would love to invite all of you to stand in front of the table to take some beautiful photos at today's event. Thank you so much for dedicating a lot of information to this panel discussion.